Hi guys, good morning. This is Dan. Welcome to Engelgeist. For those of you that are new, welcome. For those of you that are returning, welcome back. For those of you that support me over on Patreon, thank you so very much for the subscriptions. This is the All Signs collective reading. It's the daily forecast for all signs. I do speak in broad terms, so you have to figure out if and where it fits in your life. If it doesn't fit to your situation, that's okay. It doesn't mean things go wrong. You just might be working on something different at this time. I will be referring back to the Sunday reading that happened yesterday. That's the underpinning energy. So if you hear me talking about cards you don't see on the screen, I'm referencing back to those cards because that energy is at play either in the subconscious, in the background, underpinning, that kind of a thing, right? For those of you that are new, please check out the drop-down menu on any of my daily videos. In there's just some housekeeping rules, things I want you to think about when utilizing my readings, what decks I may be using, and how to contact me via social media for a private reading or to follow me on social media, and easy ways to support the channel. The best ways are to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe, tapping the notification bell so you get notified whenever I put up a new video. I do daily content. Sharing the video out, or leaving a question or comment, those are all great ways of supporting the channel. So let's get into this and see what the card is for today. We will look at that, and then the Oracle card, and then the Clarifier. So let's see, what is our card today? So we have the Nine of Wands. Oftentimes the wounded warrior, right? She looks a little sad, a little forlorn. Nines are about personal completions. Wands is the element of spirit or fire, right? To me, oftentimes, the Nine of Wands is about learning through adversity, conflict, challenge, going through a hard experience and becoming wiser because of it. The reason why I say that is the Oracle card for this week was the word wisdom. We also saw the wisdom grounding stone last week. So I feel like this is about putting some of our wisdom or our experience to good use, to bring endings, right? That would be the 9 aspect, to something that may, need to change or not be working or, challenging us in a way. We're smarter, we've been through this, we've done it before, right? In the Sunday reading, the beginning of the week is that Five of Swords. And that Five of Swords definitely gave me this element of not just the fight that the Five of Swords has, but also there's a healing that takes place. And I think that some of that healing also exists in this Nine of Wands, right? The Nine of Wands is often in like the Rider-Waite deck, it's depicted as a wounded warrior back from battle. You've survived the experience and you're smarter or more aware having gone through it. So I feel like this awareness or this, I don't want to say survival instinct, but whatever we've learned in the past, I think that we can apply to whatever situation that Five of Swords is to promote healing, to promote, to keep our own wisdom, our own counsel, our own sort of spiritual intelligence of what we know to be true from what we've been through previously and learned, and not necessarily to repeat the same mistakes over again, right? That's the healing that I saw in the Five of Swords. That snake that was wrapped around that singular sword, to me represented like the new truth of the Ace of Swords, right? Like, and that's just from the art. That's not necessarily a traditional tarot definition, but that was what the message that I was sort of getting from that Five of Swords is that in the discourse, in the discord or the discomfort or the weird communication, some sort of truth comes out, or we are able to arrive at some sort of truth or transition into some sort of truth. That truth could very much reside in this Nine of Wands through our own personal past experience, right? And standing in that. And as I say that, what's interesting and what's drawing my attention about this card is that star above her head. Right? That would be her knowing, her seventh chakra, the clarity of knowing like her true information from a deeper spiritual level, from the experiences she's gone through, from the feelings she's felt, right? And so although we might be, maybe tired or been through a lot, still maybe being challenged with that Five of Swords underpinning this, we know how to stand strong even in the face of like adversity. I'm gonna say this is the word that I'm hearing in my head is just hang in there, it's almost over, right? Or hang in there, It's similar to, we were seeing the Seven of Wands quite a bit in last week's reading, and to me, I kept getting sort of that same information of this, like, stay true to what you know, hang in there, this too shall pass kind of thing. And I feel like that's what's going on with this Nine of Wands, is it's like we're coming to maybe an ending through a realization of a new way to communicate, right? And as I say that to you, I do know that Venus has gone into Scorpio, and what I've been reading about that is that there's supposed to be, because Scorpio is such a deep, feeling water sign, and Venus is all about love. There's a big, and we just came out of Libra season, obviously, and Libra is ruled by Venus. There's definitely a focus on relationships right now, and Venus in Scorpio would be about communication and relationships. So that Five of Swords, if we're struggling in our communications with those that we love, this Nine of Wands says to me, we've learned from our past not mistakes, but experiences, how to toe the line, hold the boundary, know our truth, that truth being that star above her head, and still gain wisdom in all of this, right? Because we have that emphasis of wisdom this week with the Oracle card for the week. So, using our own intelligence, our own experience to our advantage, and standing behind it, holding it true, using it to, I don't want to say protect us, because I don't feel an ominousness off of the Five of Swords. I feel a transition and a healing, and like a new truth arises out of this. And that new truth might be something that is also within us, right? With this Nine of Wands here, So if we bring that to the table, and this sadness that I see on her face, like, she doesn't look like she wants to fight. She doesn't want to argue. She just knows sort of who she is and what she's been through and what works and what doesn't. And so there looks to me like there's this, feels to me like there might be a new way or a shift for us, that being the nine aspect of this, the completion that takes place that allows us to communicate in a different way. Remember, we're going to see the Six of Wands in the middle of the week. So this Nine of Wands is that Wands energy, kind of almost foretelling of the Six of Wands, which is that achievement, that personal victory, that relief that we need with whatever we're dealing with, that is that Five of Swords. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. Now let's go to the Oracle card. Okay, we keep seeing this koala. Protect. And the Nine of Wands would be about protection too, because she's built this sort of protection of her experiences around her, each wand being sort of an experience she's been through. She has this sort of border or boundary in place, a knowing in her mind. There's the words here, I just am now noticing the words above her head. It says strength, support, boundaries, strength, support. So this is about supporting our own self, protecting our own self. I don't think that the protect is about, protecting ourselves from something bad. It's like holding the line, holding our beliefs to be true. Channeling our own sort of wisdom through the experiences we've been through, and being strong in what we know is kind of the feeling that I'm getting from this. And I think that it's going to serve us well. So let me read you Koala. This card represents protection from harm and comfort in difficult times. Unlike the Scorpion card, this card encourages a caring and reassuring form of protection, often associated with caregivers. This card is the protection of a safe place, a thick blanket rather than a suit of armor. Despite its bear-like appearance, the koala is a marsupial. As with most marsupials, koalas care for their young using an abdominal pouch, keeping them safe, close, warm, and nourished. That abdominal pouch, guys, for those of you that are regular viewers, is making me think of the damn medicine bag from last month. Koalas tend to avoid energy-heavy, hostile behavior unless it is necessary, but can be aggressive and territorial when forced. The koala card represents comforting protection. And that's what I feel with this Nine of Wands. She's already maybe been to battle. She's already been through the tough experiences. She doesn't necessarily want to fight. She just wants to, hold true to what she knows to be true. There's and kind of like graduate or evolve out of whatever this Five of Swords may represent for you at this time. Back to koala. Sadly, many myths and legends of Australian Aboriginal peoples have been lost due to their recent tragic history. One surviving story from the Gumbaynggirr people of New South Wales is that a great flood in which is that of the Great Flood in which a little boy uses koala intestines to create a bridge between the islands that emerged from receding floodwaters. After the bridge was built, the people of Africa joined those of Australia and the different Aboriginal tribes were born. Much like modern conservation efforts to keep the koala from extinction, this card promotes conservation of nature, protection. Thanks, Cupid. Thanks for shifting everything, the camera and everything. I love it. Conservation of nature, protection of culture, and caring for others. What I want to say about that, which I find interesting, is that this story about this boy, right? The little boy uses koala intestines, our insides, right? Our internal self, the soul or the wands, right? He uses these intestines to create a bridge between the islands that emerged from receding floodwaters. And symbolically, that to me feels like that Five of Swords, right? Where that Ace of Swords is in the middle of those five swords kind of working its way out. That would be like the islands or the answers emerging from the floodwaters, right? So as the receding floodwaters go away, we start to find and build bridges through the transition of the Five of Swords and through the truth and the wisdom that we have with this Nine of Wands. We can bridge the gaps or create safe spaces or renew relationships or communication or how we communicate within relationships in ways by going, not to be gross, but the koala intestines are the very insides of ourselves, right? When we use that to sort of be creative and build the bridge and think differently, communicate differently, we heal that Five of Swords. We heal this Nine of Wands. Now, and it also says here, after the bridge was built, the people of Africa joined those of Australia and the different Aboriginal tribes were born. So from that, new birth, rebirth, new opportunities can come about, right? And that's some of that Fool energy that we've been seeing recently, I think. So the shadow reading for koala is the koala gets very little energy from their diet, so the creatures conserve their energy through slow movement and regular rest. Consequently, the koala is often associated with laziness or lethargy. A shadow reading of this card may indicate protection without teeth. It is an offer of safety and comfort without substantiating the offer with action, care, effort, and defense. The correspondences are earth. The flora is eucalyptus, angelica, calendula, and motherwort. The stones are cat's eye, carnelian, chlorite, fluorite, lapis, lazuli, and peridot. And the spellwork is protection of a loved one, the blessing of a new child, or dispelling nightmares. So let's go to the clarifiers and see what's going on there. Our first card out is the Knight of Wands, oftentimes referred, associated with the sign of Sagittarius. Quick to action. I'm not mad at him being here, especially with that Nine of Wands. That to me says that we're not that embittered, right? That we don't still have energy to propel us forward. That we don't still have might. Or strength or oomph in a way, right? This Knight of Swords can be us. It can be somebody outside of us, oftentimes associated with the fire signs, maybe Sagittarian energy. The Knight of Swords kind of can be impulsive, but he's definitely passionate and loyal. And he can also be sometimes lacking staying power, but I think that the staying power is there. I almost feel like the connection here is between the beleagueredness that normally accompanies a Nine of Wands. The Knight of Wands, but they both sound very similar, right? Says that we're not depleted, right? We still have the fire in us, or a fire in our belly to move forward when that move is right? So I'm not bothered by him being here because I think he's actually a good sign that even if we feel like we're holding a boundary or staying in our truth, we still have energy to move forward and transition out of whatever that Five of Swords is. Then we have the Three of Wands. Speaking of transitioning and moving, the Three of Wands, he's always looking out in expectation, right? Three of Wands to me is about the mind, body, spirit, that being the three, right? Those things coming into alignment, maybe coming into a spiritual truth or desire that we are wanting or know, right? The Knight of Wands would produce the action to go towards it. The Three of Wands is about envisioning it, dreaming it, seeing it, almost waiting in expectation for the change to come, right? So trusting ourselves, and again, back to that, I can't get off that owl card from yesterday. Back to that wisdom that's supposed to come out of this week, I think that there's something here that is true for us that we need to hold tight to from a very deep level, because we see all of this fire wands energy, right? And this three of wands is indicating to me that when the time is right to take action and move forward as the knight of wands, we'll know it. And right now, we may need to rest or hold space for ourselves, especially with koala being there, with protect, right? About nurturing ourselves and getting under a warm blanket and, maybe cuddling ourselves. But while we're doing that, we can still dare to dream about what it is we desire. That's what the three of wands tells me. And the knight of wands tells me through this renewal or this sort of period, we can still take right action with the knight of wands when the time is right and ready. Then the last card is, it's our friend the five of swords. So this is the depiction that I kind of oftentimes refer to. I wish I had the five of swords from yesterday's reading, from the Sunday reading. The five of swords to me is always like, I call it the lonely at the top card, right? Where sometimes when we fight too much to get our point across or to sway somebody to our side of the argument, or we push too hard with our own ego or agenda, we end up losing. We alienate people, right? Or we become alienated because of their agendas or egos or whatever, right? And that's sort of what the five of swords represents. To me, and it's interesting because the five of swords guy, let me get my little pointer, the gentleman on the five of swords who appears to have won, right? Because he's carrying three of the swords and two are thrown down and two people are dejected and walking away. He got his point across, but nobody's fucking listening, basically, right? So did you really win, Bob? Like, that's the question. Was it worth it? That's always the question with the five of swords. Is it worth getting into the melee and the argument, right? Is it that important to have proven your point? When I look at this, and it's interesting to me, just from a visual perspective, I'm going to say this. I feel like this five of swords is maybe somebody else. They're looking at all of these cards here, right? He's pointing he's won, or he thinks he's won, or he thinks he's proven his point, or he thinks he's gotten what he wants. But this person, which I believe is you, the viewer, or ourselves, we'll say, is maybe going into some protection mode, listening to our own sort of compassion towards ourselves, listening to the truth of experiences we've been through, being strong and supporting ourselves and holding our own boundaries, and maybe even taking action to pull back or ride away. That's sort of this knight of wands here, riding in the opposite direction. And this doesn't necessarily mean, oftentimes I associate this side of the reading with the past and this side with the future. But I feel like this is like a retreat in a way, almost, or a pullback. And then a reconfiguring with the three of wands of, okay, so I understand your point. It may not be in alignment with my truth. Does that make sense? And so I don't think that this is at a standstill. I think that this says to me, and it's funny because I don't see wands as a self-care suit in general, because it's fire. But I do feel like with this koala here and the way that these cards are configured and looking at each other and which directions the art is actually heading in, I feel like this is a day of sort of self-care, pulling inward, going, behind our boundary, behind our wall. Not necessarily like, it could be a bit of disengagement and then re-engaging in a visionary sort of state, or a dream-like state, a reimagining, right? Because we have all of these buds of new growth happening on all of these wands too. You've got to remember that. So there's something that might be coming to fruition or growing out of this. But I kind of get this feeling, not even kind of, I should say, I get this feeling that this is about us pulling back and not getting into the melee of the five of swords. Right? Even if somebody's standing there challenging us, saying, come on, bitch, fight me. Prove me wrong, Rhonda. Even if that is what's going on, right? If we're being challenged in that way, we don't necessarily, that Nine of Wands almost feels like above it in a way. Like, nah, Bob, I've been through this. I've done this rodeo before. I'm going to stand over here, take care of me and what I know to be true, and grow the things that I want, that I desire. And I'm going to do that through the sort of the visionariness of that Three of Wands in the middle there, right? Remember the grounding stone for this week. Let's get the grounding stone out. The grounding stone for this week is that idea of enjoy. So maybe today is a day where we do something that we truly enjoy, that comforts us, that doesn't allow us to engage in lower vibrational arguing, fighting, conflict, right? And that might be that snake that I was seeing around that truth of the Five of Wands. It's at the beginning of this week. Here we go. It's on Malachite, which is the heart chakra, and the word is touch. So for me, this feels like very much, and I don't feel that the wands is very much, like I said, an emotional or self-care thing, but I feel like with this grounding stone, the word touch is like touching down base with ourselves, touching into our heart and where we've been, what we've been through, what we know to be true. Also using that heart energy to understand what it is we desire, what it is we want, and what it is we want to create, and then taking that action. Not getting kind of derailed by somebody else's agenda or by their arguments or trying to prove our point and getting all caught up in messy energy around that. All of this wands energy feels very powerful to me and very directed. And then when you add that card of touch in there, it kind of aligns to me personally when we're in our heart and in our true compassion and in our true desire. That's some powerful stuff. And it is worth protecting and comforting. That is your reading today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit the thumbs up button. Leave me a question or comment. Share the video out. Help me grow my audience. Let people know about me. Please, 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 please. And I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. And we'll see how this energy changes. Do not worry. Stay in your heart today and know your truth. Stand behind that truth, okay? I love you all and take care. Bye-bye.